Okay, boys and girls, here we are cruising good old Bartow. Going to tell you a story about being stuck in a homeless position in which I learned so much. About 17 years ago. Man, that's a long time. Okay, so first of all, we hit up the story of Joseph. Joseph, who was abused by his brothers, thrown into a pit, and then sold to some slave traders, went through all kinds of nasty stuff, and that ended up setting him up for an amazing situation. And at the end, Joseph said to his brothers, "You guys meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." In other words, there is a spirit that is over and on top of all operations, and even disasters and death can be seen as a touch on humans' lives, causing them to do and become different than they would have been if they had not had the difficult circumstances. So, I'm taking a Greyhound bus from Philadelphia to Calgary, Alberta. Long time ago. Going to visit extended family members. Coming through Toronto. It's a beautiful trip. Coming through Toronto. I'm in a phone booth. Anybody know what a phone booth is? I don't got a cell phone. I'm in a phone booth in Toronto. And I left my wallet and my journal book in the phone booth. Now, you could say, I meant it for evil. Or it was a stupid mistake that I perpetrated on myself, but God meant it for good. I was on that Greyhound bus rolling westbound, far out of Toronto, when I realized that my wallet, my contacts, everything was sitting in a phone booth in Toronto. I had $11 with me. And I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. So, right in front of me, a couple seats in front of me, there's these two young women with backpacks that are about to go backpacking up in Banff, up in the beautiful mountains and the blue-green water lakes, the glacier water. So they're heading for Banff to go backpacking, heading westbound on the Greyhound bus. And I asked them, hey, is there any kind of hostel in Calgary? And they said, oh my gosh, you don't need a hostel in Calgary. Calgary's like the Ritz. The Salvation Army has the best beds. The drop-in center is open all night long. They do intake all night long. You don't have to wait. And if there's overflow, they put you in somewhere. And there's this place called the Mustard Seed where a bunch of Christian folks come down and they actually give you breakfast and dinner and hang out and play board games and stuff with you. And they do some, live music and stuff. It's really awesome, the Mustard Seed. So I thought, that's kind of interesting. The first time in my life that I am truly homeless, I'm being told that this town is actually one of the most comfortable places to be homeless in. And later on, I got the rest of the story. The rest of the story goes like this. Calgary is a cowboy town. Cowboy town. Calgary is north of Montana, north of Colorado. It's just prairie. It's prairie state. And Calgary is actually a major depot on the Canadian National Railroad. So that is where heavy freight can pick up thousands and thousands of cattle and actually run them into slaughterhouses in Canada or Colorado or Chicago. So for ages and ages, back into the 1800s, there's always cattle drives. Cattle drives into Calgary to load cows onto the railroad cars. After the cowboys load the railroad cars, then they've got... I'll be back. I'll be back. They got cash in their pockets, and they basically just kind of go out on the town in Calgary, and all of a sudden the fancy people in Calgary who are building railroads and building cattle empires and things like that, they decide we do not want to have a bunch of drunk cowboys sleeping on our streets. So they just built free bunkhouse soup houses. So in Calgary, there's always been a place to lay your head down and get a bowl of soup and some bread and a decent meal for free. Compliments of the locals. It's just the way it is. So I am homeless. I do not have contact numbers for the people I'm supposed to meet. People don't understand what the payphone days were like. But so I was feeling all this. I was feeling scared, but I was kind of looking at this whole thing, and I was equipped. I mean, I had 3 fine changes of clothes, 3 turtleneck pullover shirts, a couple of shirts, expedition shirts, Bible, no journal book, really decent expedition sleeping bag, and basically just everything I needed to travel around. So I was moving in a backpack existence, and all of a sudden, I am walking around Calgary like one of those cowboys. I'm walking around, and I'm scared of going into a homeless shelter and checking in. I mean, I'm kind of just a tourist. Do they let tourists in? You know, I'm thinking all these things. So I walk all around. I think at one point I crashed out in a beautiful bunch of bushes by a beautiful river. But then I think the second night it was late. It was late, super late. And I was just thinking, man, I've had it. So I headed for the drop-in center. And it was a Friday night. And I'm standing in line with all these college guys that are drunk and these gigantic Native American guys that are drunk. And we're standing in line, and we walk up to this guy at the table, and he says, "This unit is completely full. We're busing you over to the other unit." So this big van showed up, and I got stuffed into this van with these guys, and I'm, got my backpack between my knees. I show up in this other place. I kind of sign in, and they assign me a red mat on a floor. The floor is the size of 2 basketball courts with rows of red mats on it. So I'm tired. I sit down, And I'm like, I don't want anybody to steal my stuff. So I took one of my backpack straps and I tied it around my leg. And sometime very early in the morning, I woke up and I was wide awake. Wide awake, wide awake. I was wide awake and God was with me. And I was sitting there looking at the peoples. Looking at all these guys snoozing and snoring. Thinking, you know, some of these faces only a mama could love. And I felt this peace. And I'm like, what am I thinking somebody's going to steal my backpack? Nobody here wants my backpack. Everybody here is in their same little spot. And I don't have anything to be afraid of. I am rich, fat, comfortable, and I live in North America. If I were in Haiti or Congo, I would be in real trouble and I would actually have to start building my own life in the bush, which wouldn't be bad. But so I'm sitting there, homeless, and I'm learning about this place. I mean, if you're respectful, they will give you a storage closet, they will bus you to a job, and they will help you get on your feet. In North America, you can build a business empire out of a homeless shelter if you're creative about it. We are so privileged. But I'm telling you, at that moment when I was scared and afraid that my backpack was going to be stolen, and then was woken by some angels in the middle of the night, at that moment I am convinced that a demon of owning things and possessing things and me and self-preservation and all that kind of stuff, demons of selfishness and self-preservation were ripped off of me, and I became content. That was 18 years ago. What are you talking about? That was the year 1999 or 2000. Summer of 1999. So for 18 years, as I travel around, living out of my car, living out of my van, I am not proud. As a matter of fact, my job is caring for people. So laying my head down in a place that is a men's shelter or a men's rehab center is not like the bottom of the heap. That's actually where the action is, because those people are not prideful. They're not in the prideful self-preservation, I know what's going on kind of attitude. They're coachable, they're willing to learn. And they're willing to talk real and straight. And you might not like their tone or their choice of words every once in a while, but they're more real than an enemy that multiplies all kinds of fancy stuff. That's lying and cheating. Forced homelessness on me was a blessing. Read the story of Joseph. Look at that man who was made right-hand man to Pharaoh and all of Egypt. The archaeologists have found the storage bins that Joseph built all over Egypt. It's pretty cool. So that's why when people come to my house and I describe to them those who reside here are teaming up with a very special family focus on how to be friends of God. And if that doesn't work for you, we can always take you to the local homeless shelter where the people need your interaction and your love. And it's actually a relatively comfortable place. You can get a shower, you can get a meal. And if you don't have a whole puffed up, elevated picture of yourself, you can feel like a little child amongst little children, and you can be a mitzvah, you can be a blessing. building your image really does not give you eternal excellence. Being excellent does. So that's just a basic little story about leaving my journal book and wallet in Toronto, Canada, and learning how to be homeless in Calgary, Alberta. And it wasn't long that I was homeless there, but man, there was a soul shift because I had no other option. I was at the end of my rope and I was holding on, and I had something easy to hold on to. I'm telling you, people who are living in North America, you need to get out on a transformation vacation. You need to shut down your standard routines and you need to get out and live a hard scrabble existence for a little bit. You need to go amongst people that are a different style than you. That's why I tell people all the time, go and live with the Mennonites for a while. They show you what a family looks like. A lot of these women that I bump into that are all dialed up and have such a high-minded attitude about themselves need to go sit down in those families where the men were never abusive and the whole tone of the family was children and family together in a symphony and a song and a concert and all working together like happy little bees, sweet like honey. You need to experience that for your whole mind and emotions to change. So you get rid of your perceptions of how things are supposed to be. I'm telling you, North American people are sick. And the disciples of Yeshua, if they learn what it is to connect with the sent one, and when the women learn what it is to figure out a male human being that's worthy of putting your energy and effort and assistance into, oh my gosh, your life skyrockets and families are healed and all kinds of stuff happens. It becomes like a combine of community and excellence. Celebration community group. Sending out people on the streets every day. Singleness party. People having a singleness party in the midst of the families. All that good stuff. Yippee. Happy day.